Welcome, Chosen One.
Hey guys, welcome to the Ace of Plays channel, and to a video that is not gameplay, but instead we'll be taking a look at the brand new starter decks. Whoa. So yeah, with the latest patch, they finally updated the starter decks. The starter decks in Gwent were infamous for being terrible, but now they work together with the faction ambassadors, which are players who play a lot of Gwent and really know what they're talking about. They work together with them to create brand new starter decks for all the factions, and I gotta say, they did one hell of a job. These decks look a lot better, a lot more playable, they represent their factions a lot more. So, you know, if you're watching this video because you're kind of thinking about starting a Gwent account, then do it. Now is the best time ever. Sadly, for those of us who, you know, started our accounts prior to this latest patch, which came out a couple days ago, we won't be seeing any of this. So if you just started out and you haven't paid any money or anything, then, you know, you might consider making just a brand new account, because these starter decks are worth a lot more than the old ones. So you know, just keep that in mind. First of all, we're going to go over the Skellige starter deck, because Skellige is my favorite faction. Generally the faction I know the most about, so when I'm talking about it, I don't feel like a complete moron who doesn't know what's going on. So yeah, we're just going to get into it. I'm just going to look over them, give you my general thoughts, and if you want to see me like maybe try some gameplay with them in a slightly higher rank than you would expect to see them in, and maybe make some changes, updates, suggestions, just let me know in the comments and I'll get around to it as soon as I can. But for right now, we're just going to review them. So at the top, this I think is the only legendary in all the starter decks. All the decks get Geralt of Rivia. This is a good card. This is actually a very good card. It sees a lot of competitive play. Either this or similar effects. Some cards have the same effect, but different conditions, different factions. But Geralt of Rivia is a spectacular card, and it's really cool that new players actually get a pretty powerful card in their decks. Next we have Svanruga with Deploy Bloodthirst 3. Now, if you're watching this video, you might be new to the game, so I'll just quickly go over like keywords and stuff. Bloodthirst 3 basically means that there needs to be 3 wounded enemies on the board. And my mouse just gave it, so I have to use my touchpad for this one. Yeah, number of damaged enemy units required to trigger this ability. So for this it's 3, so if there are 3 damaged units, then Svanruga boosts himself by 5. Becomes an 11-point play for 8 provisions. That is good. Bloodthirst 3, you know, might be difficult to set up, but as I forgot to mention, the starting leader is Kraken Crate, which every second turn, because he has a cooldown of 2, he damages an enemy unit by 1. So you can set this up. It's not hard, and there are also other cards that help with this, so this is a good card in this deck. Dorgray is another neutral card that it's not in every starter deck, but it's in a few of them. It locks a unit, which means just shuts off all abilities. So you're really good if you can't kill an important unit of your opponents. You can just lock it, and it's fine. Dorgray is a card that it doesn't see a lot of play, but it's still a good card. Definitely for beginners, it is really, really good. A really good control card. Donar on Hindar. He was actually in the previous Skellige starter deck, and I'm glad he's still in here because he's really good. Similar to Svanruga, he has Bloodthirst 2. Well, he has Bloodthirst, but he has 2 instead of 3, is what I meant to say. So you only need 2 enemies damaged, and he will deal 5 damage instead of his usual 2. 5 damage kills a lot of important cards. This is a good removal card. Be happy that it's in your deck. Giant Boar is, you know, kind of, I mean, I love this card because it's really cool, and it has a very high ceiling. It boosts itself by 1 for every damaged unit. That means allied unit and enemy unit. So, you know, when you're pinging all your opponent's units, setting up Bloodthirst, Like anything you don't have to kill or get rid of, you can just leave damaged, and then Giant Boar comes down for a pretty big point swing. And if your opponent has damaged your units, he's just giving you more points in return. So Giant Boar is a good card, and it works well with a lot of what this deck is trying to do. So I like the inclusion of it, but it's not a necessary card. Like if you upgrade this deck and you hit the provision maximum, like this deck still has 18 provisions to go, which is really good. But if you hit the maximum and you want to put in something really big, then Giant Boar can be cut. But for all intents and purposes, I think it's a pretty solid card in this deck. Freya's Blessing is a special card. Plays a bronze unit from your graveyard. So whether or not this card is good depends on whether or not you have good bronze units. So I'll just get back to this card once we've looked at some of the bronze units, and we can evaluate how good it actually is. Lacerate. This is in also a lot of the decks. I don't know if it's in all the decks, but it's in most of the decks. It's a good card. Damages all units on the row by 2. So if you hit 4 or more units, this card gets a lot of value for its provisions. Also important to note, cards that aren't units have a little extra value because you're not putting stuff on the board for your opponent to interact with. Lacerate doesn't apply as much because you want to play it later, in which case you've already played a bunch of units for them to interact with, so but it's just something to keep in mind, that special cards and artifacts, which are another card type that don't put a unit on your board, could have additional value just in terms of not giving your opponent something to interact with. Udalric Anbrokbar. Not a super exciting card, but it is good. It gets 6 points for 6 provisions, 3 separate pings, so you can activate Bloodthirst 3 right there. Although, if you already have Bloodthirst 2, he gains Zeal, which means he can do this right away. You can combine this with other pings, like from your leader does a 1 damage ping. We have other units that do it. Combined with Udalric's 3 pings, you can actually kill a lot of things. So it's a good card, but like Giant Boar, at some point you will probably cut this once you get a lot of other good cards. But it will probably pull its own weight in this deck, so it's fine. Okay, so now we're getting on to the bronzes. We've already seen a couple of bronzes, but Elder Bear is not a good card. This should probably be the first thing you take out. And I think that applies to all of the starter decks. As soon as you get something in a keg, or you craft something that you want to put in one of your decks, take out an Elder Bear. Always. You have 18 extra provisions to go on. So you can take out one of these, and you could put in even the most expensive card, like Elder Bear, Zoltan. Still 9 provisions to go. This is the most expensive card in the game. Now, of course, I ruined my starter deck. There we go. So yeah, it's a bad card. Like, it won't lose you games, like, in the very beginning, if you don't have any other cards to put in. But it is a bad card. And also, like, I know I'm not going to make any changes or updates in this video, or in these videos, because there's probably going to be several videos. But in other starter decks, you do get Alzur's Thunder, so this will be in your starting collection. So you could just do this, and make more of a control deck, which could actually be really good. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Elder Bear is not good. Thunder is a lot better, in my opinion. Ankred Longship. This is an engine, which means it generates value over time. The longer this stays on the board, the more value it gets you. Whenever your opponent plays a unit, damage it by 1. So, for every unit your opponent plays, this card gives you 1 point of value. It sets up Bloodthirst. It makes things easier to kill. This card used to cost 7 provisions, but I think like a month ago, maybe 2, it got buffed. And now I think this is a solid card. It definitely works well with the deck. Giant Boar, Bloodthirst, a lot of synergies. That's what these starter decks really do better than the last ones, is synergy and actually showing the faction's playstyle. So this is a good card. It's a good card to be resurrected with Freya's Blessing. So it's awesome. Gutting Slash. Not a unit we can resurrect, but it's another control tool. Damage unit by 4. Bloodthirst 2, damage unit by 6 instead. Now, if there was ever a reason to not put Alcer's Thunder in your deck, in this deck, it would be because Gutting Slash will usually be better. Like, it costs 1 less, so the fact that it just on base level deals 1 less damage is fine. And 4 damage is actually pretty good. Most things can be killed with this, or this combined with a ping. You can kill anything. You don't need Alcer's Thunder. So scratch everything I said about Alcer's Thunder. Don't mind anything that I said there. But yeah, it's a decent card. There are probably better cards, but it'll do you very good in the beginning. Trust me. Demon Light Longship damages itself and an enemy unit by 1. You can do this once every turn. This is useful for combining with damaging effects to kill stuff that is normally out of reach. This card, damages a bunch of units. That's a Bloodthirst, that's a Giant Boar, and it damages itself, so that's an extra point on Giant Boar. So it's good. It's good, and it works really well with the next card, which is Brockbar Archer. A card that doesn't actually see play in, optimized competitive decks. But it's a solid card that usually will get a good bit of value. It damages an enemy unit by the amount of damaged units on their side, so, you use your leader, you use Longship, you use the other Longship, Udalric, Lacerate, all of these things to wound a bunch of enemy units, and then this guy will deal a lot of damage. So, like, once you start optimizing your deck, you will end up cutting this guy, but for right now, he's really good. I personally love this card, and I want to play it more even in my big boy decks. Heimei Herbalist. Heal an ally unit by 2, then boost it by 2. This card... like, healing is okay. Like, your units will get damaged. This can heal up a Longship and boost it, giving it more pings that I can do. Because, of course, this will eventually die when you use its ability, but, this can heal it up, give it some extra power that I can use. But Heimei Herbalist, it's not really that good of a card. Like, it's fine, but it's a pretty early cut. Not as early as Elder Bear, but a pretty early cut. So yeah. Heimei Spear Maiden. Damage an enemy unit by 2, then damage self by 2. When you have 18 provisions to go, like these 4 and 5 provision cards, they will be cut for way better cards, but eventually in an optimized deck, you do need these 4 provision cards to be able to afford the more expensive, powerful cards. This is not, one of the better picks, but it does work well. You can combine the damage with your pings, so you can kill important enemy units. It damages itself, which sets up Heimei Herbalist, an extra point on Giant Boar. So the synergy is definitely there. It's not a bad card by any means, but it's not spectacular either. And eventually, once you get to optimizing, you will cut this. And last but not least, we have Demon Pirate Captain. Bloodthirst 2. Damage an enemy unit by 3. If you get the Bloodthirst on this, which is not hard to do, this is actually a really good card. 3 damage. Again, combining with your pings, you can kill so many things. 6 points for 4 provisions. Brilliant. That's what you want. That's what you look for. This card used to be a Skellige staple. Other cards have taken its place, but it's still a very good card. And once you start hitting the provision maximum, and you need these 4 provision cards, this guy can stay in your deck for quite a while. Potentially forever if you really like it, because it is a good card. It will so rarely not get value, I think. So keep this in your deck, because it's really good. And that was the Skellige starter deck. Overall, I really like this. Like, as a Skellige player, a Skellige lover, if you want to call it that, it makes me so happy that new players come into the game and see Skellige as this. This is cool. This is Skellige. And yeah, 18 provisions to go. You can upgrade this deck quite a bit. I'm not going to cover potential upgrades in this video, but as I said, if you want to see me do that, if you want to see me try these decks out in some gameplay, even though I'm rank 10, these decks won't fly in rank 10, but I'll still try. I can still try. But let me know down below if you want to see that, and of course don't forget to check out my other starter deck videos, which will hopefully be coming out around the same time as this, maybe a little bit later. We'll see. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a new player and you have these starter decks, you know, take it from me, a Skellige lover, a Skellige main, and play this deck. Invest some time into this deck. And if you really like it, which you should because it's awesome, and Skellige has like always been good, invest in some upgrades. And of course, if you do, you know, want some instant help with upgrading your decks, and you don't want to wait for me to make a video, you can always join the Ace of Plays Discord. Invite link down below. And, you know, you can get help from me and all the other people who are there. People are usually very helpful there. And you can send me a personal message and I'll help you out as quickly as I can. And I will use your collection to help you upgrade. I won't just say, this card is good, this card is good, this card is good. But I'll look at what cards you have, what resources you have, and together, we can make some decks. Thanks again for watching. Have a good one, guys, and I will see you again very soon, hopefully. Bye.